The government's announced cuts to the UK aid budget are deeply shameful. The recent announcement by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to slash the foreign aid budget from 0.5% to 0.3% of gross national product has sparked widespread dismay amongst humanitarian organisations and development experts. This decision is aimed at funding an increase in defence spending to 2.6% of GDP by 2027, and it represents a betrayal of the world's most vulnerable populations and a retreat from global solidarity at a time of escalating crises. The reduction of UK aid to 0.3% of GNP marks its lowest level since 1999, continuing a downward trend that began during the COVID-19 pandemic, when aid was cut from 0.7% of GNP to 0.5%. This latest cut will see the UK fall from being one of the top 10 donors globally as a percentage of GNP to 25th place, and it undermines its reputation as a leader in international development. The £6 billion saved through these cuts will fund increased defence spending. The paradox here is that I don't think increased defence spending increases security. The industrial military complex needs the weapons bought to be used so that more can be sold. I think there's a strong argument that increased defence spending actually increases the chance of war. And worse, cutting the aid budget is a false economy that will definitely exacerbate global instability rather than enhance security. Let's be in no doubt, these cuts to the aid budget will have massive humanitarian consequences. The impact will be felt most acutely by those already facing dire circumstances. A coalition of 138 NGO leaders has condemned the move as short-sighted and warned that it'll worsen humanitarian crises worldwide. The Institute of Development Studies said this is a devastating blow to the UK's aid budget, which had already been drastically cut by the previous Conservative government. It will sever the vital lifeline for people around the world who are most in need, cutting funding for life-saving vaccines, food supplies and development programmes, such as those supporting the rights of women and girls. The letter that the 138 aid organisations have written to the government provides the following warning. The cuts come as the US government's 90-day suspension of humanitarian assistance and development ripples across the sector and sees HIV vaccine trials in South Africa halted and HIV medicine running out in Uganda. Food and shelter programmes in refugee camps have been reduced or stopped entirely. The timing of these cuts is particularly troubling given the broader retreat from aid by Western nations. The US has frozen nearly all federal aid spending, shutting down USAID programmes that once supported healthcare and food security globally. European nations such as France and Germany have also scaled back their commitments. Combined, these reductions threaten to destabilise regions already struggling with climate change impacts, conflict and economic hardship. Without adequate humanitarian assistance, more people will be forced to flee their homes in search of safety, a trend that will worsen the refugee crisis gripping Europe and beyond. Let's just emphasise that point. People don't want more refugees, but cutting aid actually increases the prospect for refugees and asylum seekers. There's a strong argument to increase aid spending as a way to deal with the refugee crisis that's only going to get worse, particularly as a result of climate change. The International Rescue Committee echoed this sentiment. Without humanitarian help, more people will flee their homes to seek security. UK Prime Minister Starmer has justified the cuts by emphasising national security amid rising geopolitical tensions, particularly Russia's aggression in Ukraine. He argues that increased defence spending is essential for protecting British interests and fostering economic growth through job creation in the defence sector. However, my own view is that cutting aid undermines long-term stability. History shows that investment in development reduces the root causes of global instability, poverty, inequality and lack of opportunity far more effectively than military spending. The argument for cutting aid as a necessity ignores the viable alternatives. I don't think that we should be increasing defence spending. In fact, I would cut it, but I do come at this from the perspective of a pacifist. However, even if you believe in increased defence spending, the UK possesses more than enough wealth to fund both defence increases and maintain its aid commitments. It doesn't have to sacrifice one for the other. I think that now, more than ever, is a time for global solidarity. The decision to slash UK aid comes at a time when global solidarity is more critical than ever. Climate change continues to devastate communities worldwide. Humanitarian needs are at record highs, and conflicts like the war in Ukraine demand coordinated international responses. Teresa Anderson of ActionAid International described the cuts as deeply shameful. Worsening crises requires stronger support, not retreat, from wealthy nations like the UK, particularly in light of the climate crisis. In conclusion, while debates over increases in defence spending may divide opinion, cutting foreign aid is universally disastrous. It's selfish, it's short-sighted, and it's ultimately counterproductive. It threatens lives, it undermines stability, and it damages the UK's standing on the global stage. Rather than retreating from its commitments, I think the UK should lead by example and prioritise compassion over militarisation. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.